Hi, I'm Tatum Skipper, and you're watching Jackson County Today.
Welcome back. Here right now with Robert Trammell here at Chipola College in Marianna, Florida. Robert, pretty nice occasion today. You have the opportunity to address a lot of these honor students. Pass on to them in a very short format some of your words of wisdom to a person. I was going to say to a man, but there were an equal number of women out there. To a person, they were hanging on your words. Your history precedes you. You've got definitely a career of business, education, fundraising. Where do we go from here? Thank you, first of all, for taking the time to share with us today and to carve out a few minutes here right now to speak to us. Looking at this group of very bright students, young adults, all of them with bright futures, obviously, what goes through your head looking at that group of people?
Well, it's very easy for me to remember back 50 years ago and what I was concerned about, what I did not know at that time that I have learned over those many years, and you just want them to be all they can be, and there's no place that delivers more than Chipola does to the young people from our district. It just provides a tremendous service, and it's a step on their way to a successful, happy life.
At that age, late teens, early 20s, did you listen to people who offered advice to you at that time?
Not very much, and I think it goes with the turf. I think that the only way you really learn things is you have to experience them. So these people have a lot of life's experiences that they have to get personally. But still, if you run a series like you all are running here at Chipola and you bring in people to speak to them, some of it sticks. And they were listening very well. I was most appreciative, and the questions were good here today. And these are obviously very bright people. And I was asked why it is that I've had such an interest in Chipola. And I guess the experiences that mean the most to you are the ones that are personal. And Chipola, to me, was a godsend, a blessing, because my beginning in higher education was not a successful one. And I came back to Chipola, and it was just like pulling up a warm blanket on a cold night. It just fit. And so after spending a couple of years here, I was prepared, in not only academically, but from a maturity standpoint, self-discipline, study habits, and that kind of thing to move on with my career. So I've always related back to that personal experience, and it sort of motivated me to help where I could with Chipola.
You point out one of the things which I think all of us do over time, and that's the fact that you have the local feel, you've got the hometown atmosphere of what used to be junior college, not long a full-fledged accredited four-year college now. I still say Chipola Junior College. I'm sure that you do too. But what a great opportunity for young adults, first time away from home, to have that first year or two before they go off to one of the large universities. You touched on that, but expound on that just a little bit.
Well, I think probably the very hardest thing for students to do, much like a bird leaving the nest, is to fly on their own wings. And if you can make that more comfortable, more gradual, then there's a much greater chance of achieving success. And that's what Chipola does. It's an interim step between high school and the university level. The support structure is still there from the family, the friends, small classes, all the things that go, the ingredients that go in to helping people get where they want to be. So it's actually an advantage, in my opinion, as opposed to having to leave the cradle, the nest, prematurely.
And not to belabor the point, but you mentioned you were recruited for basketball, ended up going to the University of Florida. What did it feel like getting tossed in that pool full of 38,000 sharks, or whatever the number was at that time?
Yeah, I think it was about 20,000 back then, but I was homesick. I was just out of my element, too much so. Had not developed the personal skills that I needed to and didn't realize that. And it goes back to what we were just speaking of. I had no idea that I could be unsuccessful at anything. I felt that I'd always done well, and all of a sudden it was I needed more time to grow up. So again, it has made me realize in a very personal way what Chipola does for students.
We are experiencing what's called the boomerang generation
Yes.
right now. Kids that have spent 4 or more years in school, have $100,000 plus school debt, moving them back home with mom and dad, with no options and no job opportunities in sight.
Right.
Chipola offers programs which offer certifications or the opportunity to get those certifications to get a real job. How important is that in today's economy?
Well, it's necessary. It's very, very practical. Our generation, our parents wanted us. They felt like we had to get a traditional 4-year degree or we weren't being successful. I think we passed that era by now. We're way more practical. When the economy is not provided jobs for everybody out there, you have to get the certification in the area where you can get a job. You can always go back if you want to get a undergraduate and a graduate degree if you want to, but the certifications and the job preparation for real jobs is where it is right now.
We're seeing an interesting, to say the least, phenomenon right now. For the last 4 or 5 years, there have been no jobs. They're starting to loosen up a little bit, but they're being offered to the most recent college graduates. You've got kids, I call them kids, 24, 25, applying for jobs. They've got a very large void in their work history because they simply couldn't find a job, or they were working at a fast food place trying to get an engineering job now. What would you offer to that group of people?
Well, obviously, the more well-rounded they are, the quicker they can bridge the gap from being a very young person and being untrained and unprepared properly to being successful. So the more you give them here at Chipola, the more they get at home, the more well-rounded they are, the quicker they can move up in the world. It's obvious now that industry and business is hiring people in at the lowest salaries they can, and that's going to be people that are inexperienced. But just because you're young in age chronologically doesn't mean that you can't be pretty sophisticated as far as understanding the world around you. So that's what we talked a lot about today, is understanding government, understanding finance, know a little bit about what's going on in the world, current affairs. And all those are add-ons to the particular accreditation or certification.
As a 1966 graduate of Chipola, then junior college, what's the difference in the challenges that those graduates of today face, if any?
Oh, altogether different and yet the same. Whether you do well or whether you don't do well is going to depend on how hard you try, how well you're trained, and it's just more difficult right now. This nation has changed very significantly, and businesses are not looking at things other than their bottom line. There is a different world. I would say that you need to know what's going on around you. You need to be sophisticated in that you need to not have unreal expectations. The challenges, I would say, are greater now than they were back then, because the competition is so great. The U.S. is not as strong in many ways as it was 40 years ago. And so it's going to be challenging for our students, but they're getting a great preparation here at Chipola, irrespective of what their chosen field is. And with hard work and working on everything, especially reading and writing and communication skills, they'll be better prepared to cope with the world.
My last question was going to be, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give these kids? It seems that you perhaps have answered that question, but I will ask it anyway. If you had to give them one sentence, one bit of advice gleaned from all of your years of success and failures, what would you say?
I would say that Jim Valvano at NC State, when he was giving his final farewell on national television, as you know, he died very prematurely of cancer. And he said, never, 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 never give up. Never quit. Persistence truly is omnipotent.
Words to live by. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Here now with Robert Trammell at Chipola College in Marianna, Florida. Words to live by, words to form your lifestyle by. You'll be able to see this entire episode, and we hope that you do that. Best of luck to all of those students here at Chipola College and everywhere. We do live in challenging times. We will be right back.